My adversity was the fact that I didn't have any money, and so in fact I had to ask a very close friend of mine, and he was kind enough and generous enough to give me 20,000 rupees, and it's with that 20,000 rupees that I made my first Lakme Fashion Week collection. I rented an old sewing machine. I went to the second-hand furniture market, bought a table on which I cut my fabrics. I made patterns out of newspaper. So it was such a fantastic experience.
On this episode, we have India's one of the prominent fashion designer who has placed South Indian fashion in the pedestal of Indian fashion, and he has started his journey at NIFT Chennai, parallelly waited tables in order to meet his day-to-day expenses, and went on to start working with celebrities which India is proud of, like Kapoor, Sonam, Ranveer Singh, and a lot more. And I'm proud to have them. I'm honored to have him on the show, the man himself, Vivek Karunakaran. Thank you so much for being on the show, Vivek.
Pleasure, Vamsi.
So, coming to your career and the way you started, it has been very intriguing to me.
Okay.
See, being a student at NIFT and parallelly you have actually waited tables in order to meet your daily expenses.
That's right.
Which was one of the most toughest part, I would say, at that point of time.
Yeah.
So tell me, what has actually that particular role taught you?
I think more than anything else, it has taught me the value of a lot of things, and I would summarize it to the value of life as such. I think it's the smaller things in life that you don't actually value too much, and I think those are the smaller things that make such a big difference. I think at that point of time when I was in college and when I didn't have enough pocket money to buy my stationery, I thought that I could do better, and I saw nothing wrong in taking up any job that would get me that extra buck. And it made me interact with a lot of people. It made me understand people in a deeper sense. I understood the idea of respect. I understood the value of food. I understood the value of time. It was quite an eye-opening experience for me, because I understood at that point that dignity of labor is one of the most important values that I would like to perhaps share with anyone I know, and any of my students or whoever I mentor, because I believe that there is nothing wrong in doing any job as long as you do it with passion, and that's what dignity of labor is all about. And it's about time that we respected anyone and everyone who does any job and who do it extremely well. Yeah.
See, there's one more important thing over here. You are making $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
And your salary was only $600.
Yeah.
So where did that thing come from? See, because unless you have extraordinary people skills,
yeah,
you really don't do that.
Right.
So how did you develop that part?
Well, I think that's something got to do with the personality, I guess. Let's blame it on the gene for now, but I would say that it's a learning process, Vamsi, because I certainly feel that every day is a new day, and every day you learn something new. And I'm completely of the belief from the bottom of my heart that there is something to learn from everyone, whoever that might be. There is something to learn from you, there is something to learn from my son, there is something to learn from my teacher, there is something to learn from my assistant, there is something to learn from even a janitor, for all that matters. So I don't think that we should have this thing in our heads that we can only learn from a white collar job or a person who's in a white collar job. I think there is something to learn from everyone. As long as you are able to imbibe that quality in you by means of being like a sponge, keeping all your pores open and absorbing everything that you see around you and being open to learning, I think that makes such a huge difference. And then it's just about processing it and understanding how you want to use it to your potential.
See, one important thing that I understood from you or learned from you is you always get into the detail, which he had the conversation which we had several times, I think. getting into the detail.
Yeah.
And when I read like several books, I get to understand that till from your age from like 20 to 30 or before 30,
Yeah.
if you actually done every odd job possible,
Yeah.
you actually find whenever you're looking after crossing 30, whenever you look at anything, you tend to understand what are the nitty-gritties over there, which you actually do. And I do think like your waiter job has actually given you that particular thing, or how do you think?
See, I think, me waiting at a restaurant is one of the odd things I've done.
Right.
I've actually...
I actually know that you actually get, even in your store also, you actually even do even small jobs, you are very, very particular.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So it comes from the fact that, I always like to indulge myself in anything and everything which I think needs to be done a certain way. Now, it could be related to fashion, it need not be related to fashion, but when I feel that something needs to be done a certain way, I would love to give my 101% to doing that the right way. And for me, I think it makes such a huge difference even when I see someone who's not doing it the right way, where it's almost like a disease that I kind of react to it and I get involved in it, and then, I sometimes make life miserable for myself. Yes.
And so after coming out of NIFT,
Yeah.
so, and right now you even turned into a celebrity fashion designer. So the journey from coming out of NIFT to being a celebrity fashion designer, just walk me through the journey.
It's been very tough, Vamsiya, because always what one sees is what they want to see.
Right.
Because when you look at anyone who is successful, we always talk about how successful the person is. Very, very seldom do we actually talk about what went into him being successful, him or her being successful. So I think that's the case with most of us, and for us, success, I don't know how to define success, because for me it is always a journey, right? But because I need to answer that question, and I'd like to say that we started doing what we are doing, borrowing 20,000 rupees from a good friend who trusted me and thought that money would do some good. Because when I was selected for Fashion Week and when I didn't have any money to create my collection, my friend offered me 20,000 rupees, and it is with that I created my first Lakme Fashion Week collection.
So for anyone who doesn't have the context or who doesn't know the backstory, so he actually thought of getting into masters and in Milan,
yes,
right?
That's
in
right,
Milan,
yeah.
And then. So even before that, you actually applied for Lakme Fashion Week, and suddenly you got
Yeah.
a letter from Lakme
Yeah.
Fashion Week saying that you are selected.
Yeah.
And then you so here there was a fork in the road, whether either you need to go to the masters or else you need to go to the Lakme Fashion Week.
Yeah.
So what was running in your head at that point of time?
Confusion is the right word. Confusion would ideally be the right word, but I think that when it comes to taking decisions, usually I am a horse with closed blinkers, because I think of pros and cons, and then what determines a decision is usually my gut. But when it comes to decision making, I ponder a lot, and then when I take a decision, I'm kind of like a horse with closed blinkers, and I'm usually driven by my gut. And I'm quite impulsive that way. So I decided to stay back. Because I believe the fact that when opportunity knocks, and it knocks once, so you need to make the most of it. So I decided to take the plunge, and I went for the show.
See, just correct me if I'm going wrong, but I think you should be the only underdog at that point of time in the Lakme Fashion Week, if I'm not wrong.
Well, I'm not too sure about that, Vamsi, because I think everyone has a great story,
Right.
and each one to their own.
Correct.
I really think that it's amazing how different people come from different backgrounds and they try and make things happen.
See, I'm very, very I have a lot of respect or love for the story where you're an underdog and you upset the system and you win it.
Yeah.
And you come back in a bigger way, or you
Yeah.
just rise in a bigger way.
Yeah.
So I feel that you came out in such way? Where you in a Lakme Fashion Week, if I'm not wrong?
Well, see, the adversities that one has is always what pushes them to bring the best out of them. And that's why I always believe the fact that you should never shy away from adversity. You should never shy away from a challenge which is thrown at you. You should never shy away from a problem that you're in. I think it is about how well it's going through all the trouble, but then when we made that collection, I still get goosebumps when I talk about it. When we made the collection and when we showed it, at a platform like Fashion Week, and when I saw the response of people, then I believed that everything was worth it. And it is only after that show that I actually decided that I should even have a label, because I went there because I got selected and there was an opportunity. But at the show, I think a lot of people had great things to say about the collection, which made me believe that, okay, maybe there is something in there that is calling out to me, and maybe there is something in there that I need to pursue. But another very important turning point at the same time, Vamsi, is the fact that while I was at Fashion Week, I was very, very surprised and shocked to see how the rest of the country looked at Chennai. I could see that they had this feeling that nothing great can happen out of Chennai, or everything is mediocre, or everything is not so cool. Because we had people who had walked into our stall at Fashion Week and looked at the product, had very nice things to say about the quality, about the finish, about the design, whatnot. And they used to end their conversation with me asking where I'm from. And even before I could answer, they would say Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta. And then when I said that I'm from Chennai, immediately the expression changed, the eyebrows go up, almost as unbelievable, like how can you be from Chennai because you're doing great work. So that has been a great turning point in my life, in my perspective, and in my today my vision is to do whatever I can to put Chennai on the fashion map, and that goes with everything that I do, say, I walk the talk. A hashtag goes, making Chennai proud. A hashtag goes made in Chennai, because I believe it is important to let the world know how fab Chennai is and what great work Chennai can create. So I think that was a turning point in my life. And since then, I think till this very day, and it is going to continue to be, that I decided that I'm going to really, really work my ass off to put Chennai on the fashion map, whatever it takes.
And when it comes to putting out your own label, post the Lakme Fashion Week, so how was the decision made at that point of time? Because coming up with a new label, it's completely very tough decision, I would say.
So this happened over a phone call that I had with my then girlfriend and now wife, Shray, where she was in New York at that point of time, and she was working with Donna Karan in New York after she finished her master's with FIT. So we weren't sure what to name the label, and then we decided that I think it has to be Via, because it was the Vivek and the Shreya put together as Via. And at Fashion Week, we actually launched the label as Via by Vivek Karunakaran, which went on for a couple of years until, after which I think we came to a conclusion that there was a lot of identity crisis, because no one understood what Via was. No one understood who Vivek Karunakaran was, what Via is, what Shreya is, so far and so on. So we took a collective decision in the interest of the brand that the label should be the person, and hence Vivek Karunakaran. Though I have to confess that she is the boss, she's the person, and I am just the face. I think everything that we do, nothing gets done without the boss approving it. And so that's my story.
And when it comes to your parents, talking to your parents, what was the kind of talking you were having with your parents and were coming with the brand?
So I think at that point of time, having seen what I've done come in papers, and there is some kind of claim and fame happening hand in hand, I think they were a little less stressed about the fact that I had not gone to Milan. They were very excited for me, and I think like any other parent would, they were very happy for me, and they were ready to be there for me and support me in whatever way they could. And I'm extremely grateful for that, because I think who I am today is only because of all the nagging and all the everything that my parents have done right to put me where I am today. When you look back, it was horrible, because they were very strict, and I always had to work very hard for whatever I wanted. Though I am the only child, nothing came easy. I was never treated like the only child, or never spoiled. Now I understand what good it has done to me. So I'm extremely, I can't be more grateful than having had the parents that I had.
And when it comes to being the boss and the first person of the organization,
yeah,
along with your wife, so the buck stops with you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And besides that, you're also a person who is very concerned about the detailing of everything that you do.
Yeah.
So, and when you observe your employees,
yeah,
or vendors that work for you,
yeah,
doing flaws or something on those lines,
yeah,
how do you work with it?
It's a very interesting question, Vamsi, because this is something that I keep thinking about a lot.
See, I'll tell you, because it keeps poking you in the back of the head if I'm not wrong. Whenever something keeps, at the same time, you are a person who puts it in a very proper way.
Okay, if you say so.
Yeah, because I observed it.
Right.
So how do you do it in day to day?
It's very challenging, because I think when you are a perfectionist, you not only make life miserable for others, you also make life miserable for yourself. And that explains the salt and pepper, because I think I've grayed, tremendously in the last many years. But see, the point is that if we are going to endorse mediocrity, that's the end of game. I think we need to sharpen ourselves as much as possible, because I think that's the only way for us to become any better than what we were that last second. And we are only as good as our game, depending on what game you played when last. Be on top of the game, and that means you need to go into the details, because details is what makes something beautiful. Right? Now, working with vendors, working with people, it's a very, very interesting question, because 90% of the time you're always telling people how something needs to be done. And most of the time, even after you've told them how it needs to be done, they're still not doing it right. Right? I think this is a huge attitude problem, is what I believe. So, and I think it has to start from education. I believe there are a lot of topics that go with what I'm talking about, because I believe that if someone truly loves and is passionate about what they are doing, this issue will not happen. It's only when people do things because they are doing it for the heck of it, or they're doing it for someone, or because they're doing it even though they're not interested in it, that is when there is not 100% put in there by them. And if someone puts in their 100%, it will be right. Take that for granted, or they will not stop until it is right. Right? So this is where I'm trying to say that our education system, our upbringing, our morals and values that we instill in the younger generation, in kids from kindergarten, has to be where we celebrate what they like, what they love, and allowing them to have the wings to follow what they want to chase. Because I think that will completely bring out a different generation of people who are doing fabulous things, loving what they do, and doing it so beautifully.
And so, observing whatever you said, that means that you take a lot of care in terms of hiring part, right? whenever you're hiring people, you make sure because they should be as perfect as you, right?
Not actually, but that's my biggest learning. I think after all the years that I have done what I've done, I believe that there can never be another you. You can never find yourself in anyone else. But it is also about, trying to find people perhaps in your same wavelength, right? At least in the same wavelength, so that then you are able to mentor them and mold them into the kind of wavelength that you would like them to rise into. Because I believe that anyone who's a part of my team and my family has to have the ability, the capability, and the possibility to grow. And there is no better feeling than growing together. I think it is about how each of us can support, each other to be able to become stronger and grow taller and taller, right? I think it's very important to be cohesive. And this cohesiveness only comes when we talk about people thinking alike, right? The wavelength has to be the same. We need to believe in the same values. So what we try to do is we keep explaining to them again and again, trying to show them instances. So what we try to do is we try and invest a lot of time in essentially strengthening them with the ideas and concepts of what our organization believes in, so that we bring about a certain culture in the organization. Because at the end of the day, I think it is an experience that a customer takes back, along with the product.
Right.
Now, even if they are not buying the product, it is an experience what they take back. So I think as a team, as a VK team, I think my first thing on the list is an experience. Then comes a transaction.
Are there any principles that you follow while hiring people, is it?
Hiring people has always been challenging because it's been very, very difficult to honestly find people with great values. It is not just good enough that you find people with great skill, because I've learned that you always hire for attitude and train for skill. So I think people with great attitude is a diminishing species. They are almost extinct, or if you find one, it's almost a needle in a haystack. So we spend a lot of our time in trying to find the right people who think at least a 50 or a 60% like we do, because then it becomes easy for us to kind of build on whatever that foundation that they come with.
And going beyond that, so you have come up with your new brand vertical, VK Essentials.
Yeah.
So first of all, congrats on that.
Thank you.
And so coming to the very first series of collection, the Blossom.
Yeah.
So there were several other topics you could have actually chosen and come with come up with a very different story or something on those lines.
Yeah.
But you have chosen Blossom. Is there any personal connect to it?
So as Vivek Karunakaran reaches the milestone of 11 years in business, I think from where we started to now, we've been able to achieve 4 verticals under the brand. The first one is Vivek Karunakaran, which is the luxury and diffusion line. Then you have VK India, which is the trousseau and the heritage line. Then you have VK Spirit, which is our ready-to-wear and preth line. And you have VK Essentials, which is our staple line. Now, for anyone who is looking for occasion wear and luxury and detailing and bespoke outfitting, Vivek Karunakaran is what caters to that. For anyone who looks at a trousseau for the wedding or any occasion in and around the wedding, VK India is the label which caters to that, because we bring in a lot of craftsmanship in terms of Indian embroideries, Indian fabrics, brocades, essentially celebrating the spirit of cultural, the Indian textiles and craftsmanship, but in a very beautiful aesthetic of Vivek Karunakaran, which is minimal yet modern. Trickling down from that is our ready-to-wear line, which is VK Spirit, where we have created a line which is for the masses, where we have made luxury and style affordable, and that is going to be a line which is going to be present in departmental stores as well as online. So we're just going to launch it online. Very beautifully priced and great product in terms of design, style and fit. The last but not the least, and what I'm very excited about, is VK Essentials, where the idea came from the fact that I wanted to reinvent the staple for a man or a woman. And when you think of a staple in fashion, we always think of a clean white or a black shirt that all of us need, right? So we thought, how can we reinvent this staple? So what we've done is we've taken a white shirt, we have tweaked it with adding an oomph of style and a story, and hence was born Flossom. The idea of Flossom is that VK Essentials is going to create just one product every 5 months. And why is this important? This is important because I think as a designer, my way of giving back to the community is to perhaps endorse slow fashion. And I believe that VK Essentials is a perfect path or the medium to do that, where we are not overbuying, over creating, where most of it goes into adding to the pollution that our industry does. So it is one product that we create, and every product we create is created by smaller units and not in our factory. So thereby we are creating employment for smaller units. Working with them, I am having the privilege of training them for quality. So I am increasing their skill set. I am making them more quality oriented, right? We are talking about the story of Flossom, which binds this entire thing together, where we're talking about how each of us with our flaws need to celebrate how fabulous we are and how awesome we are, and hence Flossom, right? So that's a story which brings everything together, and I think that's a great social message and the need of the hour, where I think everyone needs to kind of celebrate themselves and not try and pretend to be someone who they aren't, right? They need to be themselves. We need to celebrate ourselves. There is also a very interesting CSR activity which is associated with the product, where every shirt we sell feeds 2 children. So it is a very beautiful, multifaceted campaign where it touches the right chords where we are making a difference, right? And at the end of the day, we are also doing business as a label, right? Because until we do business, we are not going to be able to create another product.
Correct.
Right? What is very close to my heart, Vamsi, is the fact that I want this to be a campaign which has originated from India. I want this to be a campaign which originates from Chennai and which has made an impact pan-India. Because everything that we see is what comes from up north and we follow it. I would really love for this to be endorsed by the right people, for more than anyone else, for people to endorse it, because I think this is VK Essential is where luxury and style has truly become affordable, right? The shirts are priced at 2,800 rupees only, right? It's made of the most beautiful Egyptian cotton. It's got jersey sleeves which you can scrunch up, which is the style tweak that we have done to that, and almost every person who has worn the shirt has bought it. And I think only when a person buys it have we won. It is not when it just gets appreciated, right? So I hope and believe that this campaign, which is already being endorsed by a lot of people, both celebrities and real people like us, I hope it gains more momentum, and all of us can very proudly hashtag fiercely flossom.
So coming into even more detailing. So why 5 months gap? Is there any specific reason?
Because I think that is a time that you need to give a product to reach the right avenues. That is a time you need to creatively market your product. I think that is a time you need to give people to see, understand, experience and buy. That is a time you need to give people who have bought the shirt to tell that story to many others. You need to give it enough time. It's, I don't know, from a Chennai perspective, I would like to kind of correlate it with biryani, because biryani always tastes nicer the second day, according to me at least. So,
and coming to your expertise, and you working with celebrities.
Yeah.
So coming to celebrities, that I feel, because once you're working with a celebrity, you're actually reaching a wider audience, and you're working even more harder than you're working normally.
Yeah.
Because their tastes are different and the kind of expectations are completely beyond like anyone can expect usually. So how does it work at that point of time?
Well, see, when we work with celebrities, we approach celebrities like we approach any other person. Because I feel that is the kind of integrity to work or integrity to what we do that we bring onto the table, whether they are a celebrity or not. Now, to answer your question specifically, yes, I think today with the social media being there, the reach that a celebrity has is so much more wider than what you might be able to achieve doing your own marketing or your own campaign. So I think celebrities are perhaps is a great medium for you to be able to reach a wider audience, because they have a great fan following, and if you align with that thought process, I think it is a great medium. This is an individual as much as a celebrity, and an individual has as much opinion as much as a celebrity does. And I think it is important for us to respect that, and it is important for us to make that individual look fabulous with the little that we have done. And I think that is what a professional should do. A professional should be unbiased in the way they approach and create their best for every client of theirs, irrespective of who the client is. And that only makes them a professional, according to me.
Correct.
Yeah.
And coming to your work ethic,
Yeah.
according to me,
Yeah.
I feel you are one of the most hardest working person.
Okay, if you say so.
Yeah, because I have, according to my research, people whom I have met, 10 people, the kind of content I have gone through, I do feel so you are an extremely hardworking person.
Right.
So when you are in that particular zone,
Yeah.
it's quite lonely at the top,
Right.
right? It's very stressful.
Yeah.
And it's very lonely. And how do you deal with such kind of stress?
See, Vamsi, I think when you're not born with a silver spoon or a platter, you need to fend for yourself and you need to work hard. There is no other way out. You can't wish that away, right? And I really, really, truly believe from the bottom of my heart that if you put in your hours of work and if you work hard with sincerity and commitment, you will get result. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but someday you will see that it coming back, because that is the integrity that you've bought into doing it. So even today, even after me having a team, which I didn't have when I started off, and having a factory, which I didn't have when we started off, having a store, a flagship store, which we didn't have, I still work as hard as I used to even when I started off. Because I believe, see, that's the only thing I know. I do not know how to do it any other way. And I feel that if I don't do it, there will be a very integral part of me which is missing. For me, the most important thing is that you have to make every moment count. You have to put in every bit of energy into doing whatever that you do to make everything beautiful and everything nice. Now, my wife definitely doesn't agree with me on that because she looks at me and says, when are you going to stop? But it's like I say, I always joke and tell her that it's a manufacturing defect. So the point being that I do not know how to do it any other way, and I do not like to keep anything for tomorrow. If something can be done today, I want to do it then and there and finish it off and do it well, because tomorrow you will have other challenges and you will have better things to do and more interesting things to think about. So make the moment and do the best you can and make that fabulous. So I think a lot of hard work has to go into it. There is no other way. You can't wish it away.
So coming to your decision making, so were there any principles that you zeroed on in the last 11 years?
I think one of the most basic principles that I believe in, and for me, which is a very integral part of the culture of the organization and the brand, is to be fair. Whether it is being fair to each other, to a customer, to a vendor, to a supplier, I think it is just about being fair. I think that has really helped me understand that people really respect that particular thing about fairness. For me, I would say that is something that has bound the organization together, the fairness that we bring on. And we are a very transparent organization where everyone knows what's going on and what we're doing, and I think the work atmosphere also becomes very exciting when everyone is very is on the same page, when they're all on the same wavelength. Yeah.
And when it comes to failures, how do you deal with it?
With as much happiness and a little bit of regret that it happened. Why happiness? Because I think it gives you the opportunity to understand where you could go wrong in the future. It gives you the opportunity to understand where the loopholes are. It gives you the opportunity to understand what can be done even better.
Is there any procedure that you follow in order to evaluate yourself? Is it?
Well, every day we are evaluating ourselves, because every day invariably there is something which is going right and going wrong. So I think anything that you do, you're always evaluating yourself, because I don't think that we've reached a point where we've said that, oh, this is the best and it cannot be anything better. And that's what I was trying to tell you. It's always about reinventing yourself and sharpening yourself to become more effective and move faster and be more smarter. Yeah.
And coming to the other side of the coin, your personal opinions on success. So what comes to your mind when you think of the word successful?
I think it's as cliched as it might sound. Success is nothing but a journey. It is where you decide to park yourself during that journey, which makes you think and evaluate, or where did I start and how far have I come, right? It's like if you decide to pull up at 100 kilometers and then look back and say, you think, oh wow, I've come 100 kilometers. If you decide to go a little longer and then you pull up at 500 and look back, you say, oh wow, I've come 500 kilometers. So it is just a perspective of where you decide to stop and look back. Now, if you're not stopping at any point and if you're going on and on, that is what I call the journey. And if you stop, I think when you stop, I think it becomes more complicated, because then you're thinking, oh, I've come 100 kilometers. So you approach that in different ways. You say, oh wow, I've come 100 kilometers. Say, oh great, I've come 100 kilometers. Or you say 100 kilometers, no one else can do that. So it is just that, the perspective with which you approach it is what perhaps can be the little tricky challenge that you have in this journey called success. Now, if you are not going to stop and look back at all of those things, I feel that it is a beautiful journey where you keep going on and on and on, and that to me is success, when you're able to do that.
Right. And when it comes to belief system, I feel that's the foundation of whatever we do.
Yeah.
So is there any one belief of yours that other people treat insane?
I think almost everything that I do, other people think is insane because, my wife always tells me, as in, tell me something that you don't like to do. Like, tell me something that you don't want to do, because I am this kind of person who loves to dance, who loves to bartend, who loves to design, who loves to curate, who loves to do a zillion things, right? So then, she calms me down and she asks me, as in, I think you need to relax and you need to kind of calm down rather and at least do one thing so that you do it well. But see, unfortunately, like I told you, it's a manufacturing defect. I love too many things. And I very jokingly say that I have got a big heart, what to do. And that's where all the love overflows out of. But the point is that, for them it's insane because, a lot of people ask me, where do I get my energy from? So it's like, I get up first thing in the morning, I go for a walk, then I come back, I take my son to school, I come back, go to work. I'm at work the whole day in my factory, finish my factory, go to my store, I have my appointments. Usually by the time I finish my appointments, it's almost around 9 to 9:30, after which I maybe go, if I need to attend any events or any function that I have to be a judge at or so forth, or something like that. Sometimes there is a game of badminton after that, which finishes very late, and then you're up again the next day morning, and we keep going on and on. So I just love the fact that you are able to do all this, because I really believe the fact that it's one life you live. And you have to make the most of it, because tomorrow is uncertain, and today it is only as good as you made it. So I am this crazy person who likes to do everything and want to do everything and is always gung-ho about it. So yeah, that's crazy me.
So tell me about this one thing where, see, you work with your wife, and also, how do you balance the dynamics of the relationship between the business and personal life? How do you do that?
So last weekend I was in hospital with a black eye and a broken arm. I'm just kidding. So it's very tough to have a work and a personal balance. Work life and a personal life balance. But I think we have to keep working on it. That's the only way. When your partner when your life partner is also your work partner, pretty much most of the time you're in your face all the time, whether you like it or not. And I think for any relationship, what makes the relationship fabulous is space, right? So if we are able to arrive at a place where you're able to segregate, that personal and work relationship, and to give each other space, I think that is a very harmonious place to be in. We're working on that.
So when it comes to tough discussions between you people, how do you do that? Because it shouldn't at the same time affect your personal relationship, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much Tom and Jerry all the time. Because see, imagine how fun it would be if she agreed to everything that I said and I agreed to everything that she said. Never the case with any couple, given they work together or not. But I think that is also what brings out the best. Now, if each of us know that is bringing out the best, I think it's okay, right? It's only when a discussion goes towards not meeting any result, that is when it doesn't add up. But I believe that most of what we disagree on is always constructive, because it brings out the best for the brand or for each of us. So I think I'm very, very happy to indulge in more arguments and discussions with though my wife might not agree with that.
So is there any specific process that you follow
to agree and disagree?
Exactly.
I think most of the time we disagree and agree regarding processes. So now if I were to put a process for agreement, disagreement, I'm going to be in deep trouble. So it's pretty much, the reason for agreement or disagreement is that, we have not done a certain process or followed a certain system. Why, how, why has it not been done, so far and so on. So, like I said, we are working on our communication better. We are working on our interpersonal skills better. We're always that little, car which pulls up in the workshop for a tinkering job. So
even after a lot of years.
Yeah, even after because we are always work in progress. I don't think none of us are otherwise. We are always work in progress.
So if there's any couple that wants to, start together as a business, is there any specific advice you have for them?
No, I think the advice remains the same one. See that, if you're able to segregate your personal and your professional life, I think that's going to do a lot of good to you, because that is the most difficult thing to do. So if you are disciplined enough to do that, I think that is definitely going to give you better result. Number two is that it is important to know when to let go and when to hang on. So if you're able to do it for the right reasons at the right time, I think that makes things very, very easy. I think last but not the least, even if you've had a tough day and if you've had an argument, I think the lesson that my wife has been always trying to teach me is that go back home and give her a hug and a kiss, which we are working on.
And so when it comes to suffering, I feel suffering is also one more important part of success. So is there any specific aspect of your life where you suffered the most?
We constantly suffer, Vamsi, because contrary to one might think that they might think, oh, Vivek Karunakaran, designer, everything's good, everything's fabulous, page 3. But that's not the case. As in, I think each one has their own story and their own sufferings as much as the happiness and everything that comes with it. Because that's why life is a beautiful package. So we almost consistently suffer as much as we enjoy the good things that we do. Like we suffer because of, something's going wrong, something's not being implemented. Simple things like, we had to deliver something, there is no electricity. The whole suffering of trying to run behind someone to get something done is suffering, right? When you don't need to. It is only suffering because you don't need to, but you have to because there is no other way, right? So we consistently go through that like any other business would. But like I said, that is a part of the journey. You can't wish it away. As in, it is... I think what makes the journey beautiful is about the fact that there are little potholes and there are little dhabas and there are little things other than the beautifully paved national highways and the 5-star hotels. So all of these things is what makes the journey a beautiful experience.
And when it comes to learning from your parents, so what is the best thing that you learned from your mother?
I think I am pretty much the way I am because I've always seen her. See, she was this person who is so spirited and who is so involved and who is so full of life and when she was there was some energy around her. So I think by default, through way of gene, I think she has given that to me. And I love the fact that perhaps it's only because of gene that I have that energy in me, to do and love what I do and keep going. My dad has been an extremely hardworking, organized, very fair person. And I think those are the qualities that he has instilled in me, or I have seen him and I have imbibed, because he's been very hardworking. And he's the kind of person who came from nowhere. He used to walk to school 6 kilometers barefoot. That is from where he comes from. He learned. He did not even go to an English medium school, but he learned English on the job, and today he speaks very well. So, when I look back, I feel that, I see those qualities very slowly reflecting in me, and I think that is all because of upbringing. And like I said, I'm so grateful to them to have perhaps instilled the values, that they have in me.
And how do you deal with your kid? From the values that you got
No,
from
it's
your
very
parents?
different
Yeah.
actually. It's very different because I think this kid is born in this generation, right? And this generation is a very tricky generation. You have to deal with them very, very carefully. So gone is a time when your parents used to tell them don't move, and you used to sit still until they asked you to move, because now you are also playing the game. I didn't mean it literally, because it is about understanding your child. How are they emoting? How are they behaving? How do you learn to tweak their energy? How do you learn to get them to do what they want to do by going by their way, but not exactly? It's very complicated today. I think one thing that we are very sure of is the fact that we would like to raise our child where he understands the value of things, where he knows that there is nothing which is his until he earns it. Right? I think that is the most important thing that I think you can teach your child, that you have to make your life. You have to work hard for it. Nothing is going to come easy for you. And this is the age of instant gratification. So we are trying our best to delay that, for our child, so that he is again not one of those children who gets very disheartened where they do not get something what they want immediately. I think we would love to make Ayansh grow up with the idea that, and without we would love to raise Ayansh with him perhaps feeling proud about the fact that he has achieved something after having worked hard for it, and not because of anything else.
What are you obsessed with?
What am I obsessed with? A lot of things. I can't even name them because I'm obsessed with a lot of things. But I'm obsessed with silly, beautiful things. I'm not obsessed with a Ferrari and a 5-star hotel and so far and so on. As in, I'm obsessed with small things. I'm obsessed with people smiling. I'm obsessed with the fact that I'm obsessed with the fact that a hug can light a person's life up. I'm obsessed with food, right? I'm obsessed with being organized. I'm obsessed with always trying to give a great experience in whatever way to whoever, but to make it beautiful, to make it memorable. I'm obsessed with like silly things like this. Nothing material, fortunately.
Tell me your thoughts on death.
It's a very deep question, Vamsi, but I would say that it's something that is inevitable, because if you were born, you were meant to die. So I think once we know that, everything is easy. And that is the reason why I believe the fact that you live life once and you live it to the fullest, because you never know when that's coming your way. So you make every moment count.
Thank you so much for being on the
Pleasure,
show,
Vamsi.
Vivek.
Pleasure.
Yeah. So hope you have learned a lot of things on parenting, maintaining relationships, and talking to people, and a lot more things about nitty-gritties in specific. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and you actually level up your mindset. Yeah.
Thank you.